Will senators hang up their phones? We'll have a moment of silence in lieu of a devotional. Are there any announcements? Seeing none, we have a committee of conference to announce on the Capitol bill. We have Senator Harrison, Senator Plunkett, and Senator Ingalls on behalf of the Committee on Committees. I didn't read the script that I was supposed to, but I think you all get the gist. Glad you gave me that script, Melissa. Forgot to read it. We now have Rule 31 referrals. H44 and H167 will be referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Orders of the day. We have S50. Was passed by the House with proposal of amendment. The question is, shall the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment? Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Senate Natural Resources and Energy Committee this morning heard about the changes to S50 that the other body made. So I believe this is on page 1282 in your agenda. So just to go over some of the things that came up for them, we had an amendment that came to us on the floor for this bill, allowing customers to change who the RECs had been attributed to one time, but moving on indefinitely into the future. The House thought that was a good idea, but wanted to put a limit on the amount of time that a change could be made. So after the decision or the paperwork was submitted, they changed it to 120-day window in which the assignment of the renewable energy credits could be reassigned. That's 4 billing cycles, and they thought that would be sufficient for someone to recognize that an error had been made and catch it and make a correction there. And also this, we had it as just applying to small systems, relatively speaking, and they changed the requirement to apply to any size. I also want to point out in section 2, there's some rulemaking that was a change there to allow for folks to begin to do this fast or easy process for registering small systems before the rules have been updated, that we think that's going to be relatively quick. We also had, as a part of the floor amendment, there was a part about setbacks to photovoltaic systems that said that they had to match whatever the municipal zoning was, but the House recognized that municipalities are actually not allowed to regulate energy generation systems. And so, good on them for checking into setbacks, for to have the installers do that checking to see what the municipal setbacks are, but there generally aren't any. So they might be referencing other setbacks for other kinds of structures. So really there have been no setbacks for photovoltaic systems in municipal law. And so the House took that and instead made it a statewide 10-foot setback for these photovoltaic systems. And that way there's not a patchwork of setbacks on a town-by-town basis. They did take testimony from the league. They were okay with it, as well as the advocates, Renewable Energy Vermont, in terms of having it be clear what the standard was moving forward. So that seemed fine. House also added some changes in section 4. The So in the process of building a new photovoltaic system, they have to currently submit the records of this to the town as well as to the commission. And then what has been happening is that the commission then has to sort of double check to make sure that it has been registered with the towns, which is a sort of double recording. And this law is from a time when the EPUC database was not up and running. And so this change would mean that they don't have to do this double, it doesn't have to be doubly recorded. And then they added a section at the end, section 5, that was a stakeholder process to look into the definition of a plant. And this is in reference to having rules around single plant requirements, because there's a higher rate for smaller photovoltaic systems. And so you could, well, I should say, one might be incentivized to, instead of have one large system, break it up into multiple small systems and get the higher rate instead of the lower rate for one larger system. That is prohibited. We don't want people to do that. But that rule has turned out to be somewhat problematic because if there is another opportunity for a installation that's very near a smaller size photovoltaic array, it's caused people to have to build new roads that maybe they would not have otherwise had to build if they could have just extended the road that existed. It has caused people to take out existing poles that they could have used in just extending a system. And so this doesn't make any changes to the law about the definition of a plant or single plant, but it asks the Public Utility Commission to make recommendations about how that definition of plant could be changed in the future to potentially co-locate some smaller plants so that we can be better using disturbed areas or places that it may make some sense to have more photovoltaics close together. So it wouldn't be necessarily everywhere, but there may be some cases where it makes sense to have these sort of piggybacked systems. So that is the changes that we saw from the House, and the Senate Natural Resources and Energy Committee took a straw poll on this 5-0.
Senator from Washington, Senator Watson, has moved that the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment with further proposal of amendment. Are you ready for the question?
Oh.
Excuse me, Senator.
We have a further proposal of amendment.
Oh, further proposal of amendment.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes, no worries. So this further proposal of amendment is regarding the issue of when folks are able to change the assignment of the RECs, because in the House they had this 120-day window, which is great, but we had been interested in having it apply to anyone potentially in the past. And we actually have a constituent who made a mistake on their REC assignment in the past, and as a result is having to pay quite a bit of money that they were not intending to have to pay. And so this small amendment looks back into 2023 to say that if somebody going back to that time would like to change their decision about who retains the RECs, they have one opportunity to make that change, and it can be made up until September 2nd. And so that would give them an adequate amount of time to make that change from a past mistake. So and that is the amendment. Oh, so we also took a straw poll on this amendment, and the committee supported this amendment at a 5-0 vote as well.
The question is, Senator from Washington, Senator Watson, has moved that the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment with a further proposal of amendment. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. We now have H491 for third reading. Are there any amendments prior to third reading? Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have an amendment. It is being passed out. Last year, we had a proposal to use our reserve funds to buy down property taxes, and we opposed that proposal because we rightfully deemed that it wasn't sound or responsible fiscal policy. And yet here we are this year doing exactly that. And I would argue it still isn't sound or responsible fiscal policy, especially not when we're looking at potentially hundreds of millions of dollars of cuts to our education funding from the federal level. So what this amendment does is it looks to buy down property tax rates for those who need it. It looks to take well, actually, it's not a buy down, it's an increase in the property tax credit. But by doing that for income sensitized households, it holds income sensitized households increase to 0% while not using taxpayer money to buy down the rates of people who in fact can afford to pay more and are currently paying a fraction of a percentage of their incomes. So section 1 of the amendment updates the yields and non-homestead rates to reflect the property tax credit or tax increase of 5.8%, but reserves about $9 million of the $77 million that is set aside to increase the property tax credit to 5.8% for those households that are income sensitized. Section 2 reserves the additional $69 million for next year to offset education property tax rate increases in fiscal year 27 or to fill any other contingencies or holes that we may be looking at. And then the other two sections that are actually part of my amendment, section 5 is in the as passed the House and has nothing to do with what I'm doing. But section 3 applies the NIPA inflator, which is the inflationary index that is used throughout Title 16 to the income sensitivity measures built into the property tax credit. One of the things we've heard a lot about, and I certainly grappled with as I was working with JFO and Legislative Council on crafting this amendment to do what I wanted it to do, which is provide tax relief to those who need it and not to those who don't. What we heard a lot is that the $115,000 is too low, and I agree. What I originally asked for them to do would be to set that at $200,000, but we can't because we don't have the data, because our property tax system is clunky and imperfect and is always on a 2-year delay. So in section 4, and I am skipping over section 3 briefly, it requires that all homestead owners provide their household income in their homestead declaration. Currently, you only have to provide that information if you're applying for the income sensitivity, and if you are over the threshold, you wouldn't apply for income sensitivity. And what this would do is it would give us the data to be able to raise that cap to be more in line with what it costs to live in Vermont today in fiscal year 27. So this would allow us to have the data that we didn't have when I was crafting this, which forced me to set this at $115,000. And then applying that inflator means that that continues to track with inflation. And we don't find ourselves in a position, again, where those numbers haven't been updated in decades. So what this does is it uses, like I said, approximately $9 million to hold income sensitized homes increase at 0 by increasing the property tax credit to match the tax increase. And it does not provide any taxpayer funding to buy down the property taxes of individuals who are not income sensitized. I grappled back and forth with whether or not the rate for everyone else should be 5.8 or 3.1 or 4, and I'd be certainly willing to have more or, in line with inflation, which my understanding currently is 2.9%. But what I certainly didn't feel comfortable doing was using $77 million of taxpayer money to buy down the property taxes of people who simply do not need another tax break. And so that is what this amendment does. I have talked about this a lot this year and decided, and I would have brought it sooner, but the yield bill kind of snuck up on me yesterday. But I decided to work closely with JFO and Legislative Council to come up with a potential solution. And you will see, hopefully everyone has them now, the amendment as I'm proposing it, as well as a chart with a side-by-side of fiscal year 25 projected and fiscal year 26, and then how my amendment changes it. So that, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time belaboring the issue. I just don't feel that in a moment when there's so much uncertainty about federal funding for all of our systems and definitely for our education system, and we have a system that can be massaged to provide relief to those who need it most and not to those who are likely already going to be receiving federal tax cuts and simply don't need more taxpayer money in their pockets. So I would ask for the Senate's support in shifting to a more equitable mechanism of buying down the rates of those who need it.
Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yield bill has been sitting in the Finance Committee for several weeks, and this is the first. I got an email at 11 o'clock today with this amendment. So could I ask for a short recess so that the Finance Committee can meet in the cloakroom and take a look at this and during fiscal to join us?
We'll take a 5-minute recess. Will Senate please come to order? Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee looked at this. It has some very interesting ideas, some good ideas that we're interested in. But the education fund is one of those things where you push a lever and something else swings, and we really feel that we would need time to work on this. So the committee has voted, I believe we were 5-2, to reject this amendment for the time being and let us work on that in the context of the larger education bill.
The question is, shall the Senate amend H 491 as proposed by the senator from Chittenden Central? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Nay. The nays appear to have it. The nays do have it, and the motion has failed. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time? Third reading, yes.
H 491, an act relating to setting the homestead property tax yields and the non-homestead property tax rate.
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested, and when the vote is taken, it shall be by roll. The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence? Are you ready for the question? If so, the secretary shall call the roll.
Senator Baruch.
Yes.
Senator Beck.
Yes.
Senator Bungert.
Yes.
Senator Brennan.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Chitwood.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson. Senator Collmore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Douglas.
Yes.
Senator Goulet.
Yes.
Senator Harden.
No.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hart.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Heffernan.
Yay.
Senator Ingle.
Yes.
Senator Lyons. Senator Major.
Yes.
Senator Mathos.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Pershling.
Yes.
Senator Plunkett.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Bohosky.
No.
Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Westman.
Yes.
Senator White.
Yes.
Senator Williams.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson. Senator Lyons.
The yeas 26 and the nays 2, and we have passed H 491 in concurrence. We have JRS 14. I don't have a script for that. Oh, it is on there. Okay. Thank you. Got it. Are there any amendments prior to third reading? Seeing none, listen to the third reading.
SR 14, Senate resolution strongly urging the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, to expedite the establishment and implementation of an avian influenza vaccine national reserve and distribution system for small and medium-sized poultry farms.
The question is, shall the resolution be adopted? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we have adopted SR 14. We have on the calendar for action H27, introduced on January 10th of 2025. It was referred to the Committee on Judiciary, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that it ought to pass in concurrence. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H27, an act relating to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Commission.
I recognize the senator from Chittenden Central, Senator Vihovsky, for the report of the Committee on Judiciary.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Domestic Violence Fatality Review Commission already exists, and it exists in order to examine trends and patterns of domestic violence, identify barriers to safety and the strengths and weaknesses in our communities, to educate the public, service providers, and policymakers, and to recommend policies, practices, and services that will encourage collaboration and the reduction of domestic violence fatalities. The first thing that this bill does, and we didn't make any changes from the House, they did such excellent work, your Senate Judiciary Committee did not feel the need to make any amendments. So the first thing it does is presently it tracks all of those things and does all of those things for domestic violence fatalities, and this adds near fatal instances of domestic violence to their tracking and educating, recognizing that sometimes the difference between a fatal instance and a near fatal instance is simply a slight circumstance, and the underlying issues going on still should be tracked in this review commission. The next thing it does in section A, subsection B, is it makes a bit of a statement of intent that the commission is intended to reflect communities throughout Vermont, and the appointing authority shall strive to appoint persons from different racial and ethnic backgrounds, persons with a disability, and persons who identify as LGBTQ+, recognizing that a diverse representation is critically important and that domestic violence happens in all types of relationships. The next and most substantive thing that it does is it expands the commission from 17 members to 23 members. And the members that it adds to the commission are as follows. I'm not going to read you the 17 existing members unless you really want me to, but the additional members are a sheriff with experience and interest in combating domestic violence appointed by the Vermont Sheriff's Association, a restorative justice practitioner from the Community Justice Center appointed by the Attorney General. And this is very critically important because in the last biennium, we actually expanded the ability of restorative justice to be able to work towards responding to domestic violence. Prior to that, there was a prohibition on instances of domestic violence being referred to restorative justice. And in the last biennium, we gave the opportunity based on what we heard from the network and what we heard from the restorative justice providers. So it's now critically important that we have someone doing this work represented on the Fatality Review Commission. The next addition is the Director of Victim Services from the Vermont State Police or their designee, the Executive Director of the Vermont Center for Crime Victim Services or their designee, a State's Attorney's Victims Advocate appointed by the Executive Director of the Department of State's Attorneys and Sheriffs, and the Director of Victim Services for the Department of Corrections or their designee. In the rest of the bill, what you will continue to see is the addition of near fatal everywhere where you see fatal instances of domestic violence. And due to the really critical importance of doing this work, this act shall take effect on passage. Your vote in the Senate Judiciary Committee, after some discussion about how large this commission is, was 500. We really heard from the network and other people doing this work that everyone that's being named to this really is quite critical, and they feel quite confident that they can work in spite of being a commission of 23. And so we do ask for the full Senate support in moving forward this important domestic violence work.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of H27. That completes the orders of the day. Are there any announcements? Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand on a point of personal privilege. As we contemplate a massive overhaul of our education system and a very large task before us, reforming education, I thought it might be helpful to share some numbers that are coming out of the Office of the President of the United States and his administration. These are numbers from the Department of Education's annual budget tables, fiscal year 2024 disbursements. I wanted to share that the estimated cuts for services supporting kids in the state of Vermont, right now, we're looking at $100.2 million. We're looking at another $22.5 million in cuts to services supporting our workers in the state of Vermont around education. $3 billion in investments for 2- and 4-year colleges and trade development, and $672,000 in community improvements that are related to schools and children. Specifically, the estimated cuts focus on $42.8 million for Title I schools. And this money serves over 50,000 students in the state of Vermont. $42.5 million for 15,000 of our kids who receive help with speech services, reading support, and other assistance to get appropriate grade levels to ensure accessibility for students with disabilities. $6.7 million to ensure that our schools are safe to teach life skills like career counseling and to set up our kids for success beyond the classroom. $6.5 million for before and after school programs to support working parents and for clubs and sports to help our kids lead well-rounded lives. $500,000 to support English language learners. Another $885,000 for students enrolled in schools that are in rural communities, and $336,000 to support students in military families. And then lastly, I just wanted to share that we're looking at $6.8 million for career and tech ed cuts, $13.8 million to ensure people who want a job, including those with disabilities, have the skills and access to the services that they need to help them find a job, and $1.9 million in competitive funding to help bring high pay and high skilled jobs to rural communities to train workers. I want us to think about these numbers as we embark in this incredibly heavy lift that we have before us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are there any further announcements? Senator from Addison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hearing those numbers underscores why it would have been important to leave funding on the bottom line to help our education fund. But why I rise is to ask that the senator from Chittenden Central's remarks be journalized. Thank you.
The senator from Addison has moved that the senator from Chittenden Central's remarks be journalized. Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to ask, as we go forward, if people were to raise points of personal privilege, all four people speaking to the moment from the heart using that device. I would only ask that if you plan to have your remarks journalized, you have them typed up, bring them with you, and then hand them to the Senate Secretary. Otherwise, if someone is speaking off the cuff, it puts the Senate staff to the task of going to the YouTube and trying to transcribe. They work long and hard, and we should make it as easy as possible for them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate has moved to journalize the words of the senator from Chittenden Central. Are there further announcements? Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pending further announcements, I would move that the Senate stand in adjournment until 1 p.m. Thursday, May 8th.
Are there further announcements? Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Finance will meet at 1:50.
Senator from Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Government operations will meet at 2 o'clock.
Senator from Wyndham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate institutions will meet at 1:50. Thank you.
Senator from Bennington.
Mr. President, the Senate Education Committee will meet at 1:50.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate stand in adjournment until 1 p.m. Thursday, May 8th, 2025. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we'll stand in adjournment until 1 p.m. Thursday, May 8th, 2025.